this is the Pruned Tree Podcast. Okay, y'all. Woo! We have, first of all, let me acknowledge the queen. Okay, because I just want to jump into the conscious talk and the critical thought processes, but
Yeah,
I
let's
have
do
to
that.
take no, we got to take a moment to identify who this queen is. This is a lot of y'all don't y'all call her different names, but her beloved is Mama T. Uh, her beloveds call her that. And I've heard Tama.
Mhm.
I've heard the city of Stockton poet Laureate, now Emerita.
Emerita.
Come on, Black Girl Magic.
I like that part.
I've heard Mom.
You have.
Mm.
Yeah.
I've heard Miss Tama Brisbane. I think that's more of the executive person that you are. I mean, you do a lot of different things. And I never try to introduce a master. So I always ask the master to introduce themselves. I will introduce you in the most poetic way because I see you as like this fairy godmother who's it's like every young intellectuals, it's like I see you. You appear in my image of word consciousness, savviness, education, intellect. See,
Thank you.
being educated versus having an intellect is wow, are you ready? I'm ready to spar
It's
tonight.
different. It's different.
Come on.
Yeah, it's two different words, two different stations,
Come on.
two different mindsets,
Ooh.
two different experiences, two different life paths.
Okay, I'm getting excited. I tell people that I'm everything intellectual. To spar to me is sexy. Sapiosexual energy
Don't have me doing
has
this
gotten
stuff.
me in trouble.
Whoa.
Let me tell you why it's gotten me in trouble. We never look at the foul things sometimes people do when you're driven by sapiosexual energy, intellectual energy, beautiful sparring, critical thinking, support. It sounds like you've had your moment with
It's
that.
my kryptonite. don't be the one with the words.
Who are they? They're the silver tongued devils.
The
They're
silver tongued devils.
what else are they? They
no
the
defense
Enriques and the
the
Rico
Rico
Suaves.
Suaves.
um, to spar is
Don't act
I
like
never
you read a book.
listen. Let me tell you something.
Don't act like you
ain't
read a book.
never. I have never felt so in love with a tune, and I got to play on the conundrum of words right there. In love with a tune,
Mhm.
and you wasn't supposed to like him. Pepe Le Pew. Let me tell you about the pimpin' and Pepe Le Pew. This is my goofy intellect that's channeling with you because I guess I'm blushing on you. You are so dope to me. Now that I said it.
Yeah. Pepe Le Pew.
Pepe
Oh my
Le
God, I
Pew.
know him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you find yourself liking those type of qualities in certain men.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. You have a lot of wisdom. So there's so many things that when I talk to people about you, it's like, how do you introduce Miss Tama Brisbane?
Like that.
Hmm.
Like that. Or Mama T. Um, that's it. But you were talking about Pepe Le Pew and that early spark, that early first tingle. So this is we're gonna jump around, y'all. So
I
just
love it.
hang with us. So now I'm my mother's only child.
Mm.
And I'm growing up in 1960s Los Angeles, Watts, South Central before it became South Central.
Uh-oh.
And
Take us back to when you have to story tell now, because a lot of our history has been rewritten or it's been whitewashed, or you have to give us landmarks in the story. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. This grandmother spirit that's coming through.
Okay.
And a lot of times when I be trying to recall things
Mhm.
because we've been traumatized, we've seen so much, we don't really know it's significant to remember to fight it. So I'm gonna go back to that.
Okay.
I got my talking points. When you tell this story, when you share with us tonight, give us landmarks, okay? So we can recall, right? With your words, you're gonna heal, you're gonna ground. You're gonna talk to us tonight. We need something from you. I need something from you as a young leader.
Yeah. You want physical landmarks?
Anything that helps recall
landmarks?
memories. So when we deal with people with trauma, EMDR, or even brain spotting or whatever, we have them tell their narrative, but there's psychological landmarks to identify that emotion that it invokes, and then we process. That's all that is.
Got it.
Some people use pointers in brain spotting, MDR, they use narrative storytelling in a way that's their truth. I want you to tell your truth. I want you to stand in your truth. You've seen a change we've seen in social justice, civil rights, what it means to the LGBTQ community to be seen, Black birth equity, the dying of loved ones are connected to wars, how we ship our children off, the school to prison pipeline. When I say everything we have seen or been a part of, you've been the storyteller. You've been watching. You've been telling our stories through poetry, through our hurt and our pain. You're manifesting, you're capturing the emotions and manifest them into words. What? Did anybody catch that?
Because I've been bearing witness for a long time.
Woo! The witness is one of the greatest in the movement, in the fight, in the kingdom.
It's the one that
bear truth.
It's the one that has the highest price.
Oh, let's go there for a moment.
When you have,
I like this. This is sparring here. This
when
is
you have to bear witness. That means part of you has to stand outside of the thing and outside of yourself to capture all the salient details, so that when you retell it, then you can bring the emotion back into it.
Salient details. Many of you would have just said clear or transparent. Salient. Yeah. How delicious of a choice of word. My first left, side note, thesaurus reading. Thesaurus is reading.
Roger.
And I had to tell myself when I went out there that I wasn't a geek. And now I've learned to love my geekiness. I have learned to adore.
Here's the thing. The one thing that we lift up about Malcolm is what?
Okay, when you say Malcolm,
when you talk about Malcolm,
we ain't talking about Malcolm in the middle, y'all. This is a history lesson. Let's write our notes.
So let's get real. When Detroit Red was in prison. The thing that he did to help him survive was to read the dictionary.
Come on.
And so when he came out and then became Malcolm X, and then the facility with the language that he had, when he would get in front of the nation, when he would get in front of the cameras, and he had no fear of
confidence.
Any intellectual that was monochromatic, aka white people, because he was familiar with the language.
Now, I got to use some disclaimers because I was supposed to get some disclaimers before we got deep. So let me get these disclaimers out.
Time out for disclaimers.
Listen, at the Pruned Tree Podcast, it is privately owned and operated. And so, although we uplift and support a lot of community organizations in which both of us may be affiliated in this way, the Pruned Tree does not, are those boards, those affiliates, those participants, they don't participate in a way where we're legal to them, or we're legal here in our own space personally as ourselves, RC Thompson and Miss Tama Brisbane.
So I'm gonna do you one better.
Okay, let's get this clear, because people like to run with stuff.
Yeah, they do.
And we got to be able to tell our truth. And if it's getting to the point in America now where you get vilified, you get demonized, you get hurt even for telling the truth. They erase your story, they erase your narratives, they erase what actually happened and continue to traumatize you. And then, and I'm talking about the nation right now, I'm not talking about nothing personal. And then turn around and say, that didn't really happen to you. I think you're going a bit far.
The gaslighting is real. But for tonight, since I'm talking with Rebel Rae, and I don't do this very often, this is not Mama T. This is not Miss Brisbane. This is Tama Lynn.
Oh, Tama Lynn, Tama Lynn.
One N.
What? Get it right with the first N. Get it right.
One N.
Listen, girlfriend.
So that we can
get
talk.
Get it right with Tama Lynn. With
so
the first
talk.
N.
Yes.
So we talking.
Yeah. So I am little kid growing up in Watts, Stone's Throw from the Watts Towers, Nickerson Gardens for some of you old heads. And I'm like 7, 8 years old. And my room where Mom and I lived was the loft. So I had elevated, see the sunset, but it was my room. And every night, because I was ridiculously spoiled, I had my own TV. Black and white TV, 1960, so you only had 3 channels, maybe. Yeah, 3 channels. Dang, NBC, ABC, CBS. That was it.
And it was black and white. You hadn't got color.
Hadn't got color
TV
yet. Oh, no.
Color TV came in the 80s, I remember.
70s.
Was it late 70s? It was late, though.
Yeah, late.
Because somebody switched on color TV in America. And I forgot. It was in black and white. I saw that.
Yeah. And because of the time difference, and I have always been nocturnal.
Me too.
So
the best rest ideas, heavenly connection
it was
with
amazing.
The source, all of that.
It's after midnight.
It is.
So my bedtime is 8:30.
Yeah.
West Coast time. But that meant it was 11:30 in New York.
Woo.
And at 11:30 in New York, a brother named Ellis Hazlip hosted a program on the public broadcasting network called Soul. And that was where I was first introduced to the Last Poets.
Wow.
And that was my lullaby. That was my bedtime story every night, was listening to Guyland Kane of the Last Poets. Fine as hell.
Talk about it. What did he look like?
Eloquent. Puerto Rican.
He was Puerto Rican.
With a fro.
With a fro.
And a command of the 2 languages.
Okay. The roll of the R. The roll of the R can take you out.
Yo, why? And I'm 8, right?
Puerto Rican.
I'm 8, and I was like,
that's why that lady went viral the way she did. Because she rolled that R, and we all got activated. It's something about a beautiful Puerto Rican. That's an African ancestral root of the beautiful Spanish and the Taino Native Americans.
Yeah.
The indigenous
and remember
folk.
In the 60s, that
so
was
much
also
Africana though, and that was beat poetry.
So you had the drum.
Ashe. So a lot of what we saw, like from Cuba at the time, for remember I Love Lucy really kind of showed them that. You had Eartha Kitt that traveled up and down there. All this richness of literature, music was actually happening during that time.
It was.
It was an awakening also of like the arts, but it was a lot of the arts and civil rights. Eartha Kitt was exiled. Many people were exiled for speaking out. They were
Baldwin,
blacklisted
Kitt,
on Hollywood as
Simone,
well.
yeah.
Simone,
Hmm.
woo, she started early
Yeah.
in the 60s.
And it took it, and that again, let's bring it back around to the cost of bearing witness.
Woo.
Because Nina was such a profound witness and channeler
Ooh.
of
The ancestral spirit, the
yeah,
struggle,
but it cost
it cost her
everything.
to say the story, to tell
Yeah.
the story, to be the story. It was heavy. And I would see those white people in amazement as she pound with pain and grace, though, at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then just speak so easily and put you in your place about what's going on in America.
Because she was well read as well.
Her, when I am in one of my moods, I need to have my wine. I'll spar with an intellectual friend and say, friend, you know this ain't right, and hit him on an intellectual level.
Yeah.
I put my incense on.
What's your favorite incense?
Right now, I'm really into cashmere's soft, smoky, easy smells. Okay. And I have to pair that right now with some music, depending on the smell, because I'm practicing coping skills that I often teach my clients nowadays because the stress is so high. Let's talk about it. This is me openly telling you how even myself have to practice wellness, mental well-being, being honest with yourself, right? All of that is therapeutic. People are scared to be honest and say there's certain people struggling with certain things, and this is how they're coping.
Yeah.
So I feel like Nina. Heavy.
Finding yourself paying a price.
Said. Oh, yeah. Bear witness on what happened on yesterday and today. Bear witness when things can be said at the highest courts of the land, I would say. Bear witness when things continue to repeat itself. History is repeating itself so rapidly. But
because God will send the lesson to you over and over again until you learn it.
Well, America.
And we're not learning. I find it so interesting that the same 52% of white women that voted for Trump in 2016, that's the same percentage that voted for him this time.
Okay, let's take it back. Let's take it back a century. Everybody ready for this?
Let's go.
Abolitionist. The ones you don't hear about, but they're in history. Oh, them black women, they were beautiful, strong in their black and white uniform, marching, holding hands. What was the pattern of the vote then? Hold on, you're not ready for this.
Yeah.
What was the pattern of the vote? What was the rate of the vote? And now inflate that. What's being practiced is social conditioning, social reproduction, psychological warfare, and programming. So when you're starting to see patterns, and I might get in trouble for this. People might attack me for this. People might call me a conspiracy theory. I'm only using psychology to measure
What
this.
What is it they say about paranoia? Doesn't mean someone's not after you.
Okay. I don't even think it's paranoia. I think it's overconsciousness. Overconscious people.
It's not a conspiracy if the thing is happening.
If it's happening. Well, in some people's histories, it's not happening. It's not happening.
Well,
and
then,
the sarcasm
then we get into the cognitive dissonance because the shit is happening.
It's happening. The cognitive dissonance is happening. I shared with you. I went on a tour with Weeping Knee, to Weeping Knee, not the war that we've been taught. It was a massacre.
Wounded Knee.
Wounded Knee. It was a massacre.
Mm-hmm.
And we continue to tell our stories. We when we see certain behavior, people of color are not listened to. Oh, well, Jesus, I'm gonna get in trouble. I gotta get in trouble. Did I say it?
No, you did.
I think I'm like Kanye in 1999. I'm being sarcastic now. Like, people of color are not really listened to. How did 92% of Black women
show up again
and vote? Yeah. America.
I'm still having conversations. I'm not fully processing.
I processed out. I didn't go to bed. I said, we in trouble. No. I'm sarcastic now, and it's not healthy. We're in trouble.
Here's the thing.
My nervousness is showing. I'm usually confident. My nervousness is showing because I said, 1984, at the end, it was like a moral decay that came over everybody. And people are not getting it. I said, okay, let's fast forward and go to the Simpsons.
Right?
They have never been wrong.
So I was
That's the geekiness in me.
I was trying to give somebody
blatantly obvious
a handle on what this thing is that we're feeling.
Do we have comments? I think we have comments.
And it's not stressed.
Okay. It's too much.
No, this is a military term. We are shell shocked.
I think we are.
Let me tell you why we are shell shocked.
I'm laughing inappropriately. Anybody seeing me and thinking I'm being insensitive? I am laughing inappropriately right now.
Good.
Because
I need you to be inappropriate.
I cannot.
For everybody,
what just happened?
For everybody that is listening, I'm going to read you the definition of shell shock and tell me if this feels familiar. Shell shocked is when you are mentally confused, upset, or exhausted.
Ooh.
As a result of a highly stressful or disturbing and often unexpected event or experience.
Okay, y'all. So
we are
over 60% of our Black family units have been broken down by no pun intended, trumped laws that have been placed to the point where we've been enslaved again, but just legally. And Trump laws and made money off of us, have secret, all kind of financial funding that they put into these prison systems. We're incarcerated with a bunch of felonies. Our men, our families, our houses are broken. And the highest court of the land can have, is it 34 or 43 felonies?
34.
34? And still serve. It is a blatant slap.
They are playing in our faces.
Okay. Woo! You were able to say it because I couldn't get it out.
They are playing in our faces.
I couldn't get it out anymore.
And
I'm tired.
Going forward,
I'm tired.
What we are looking at is all of the, here's a pun for you, all the trump cards. You know how we play spades? All the trump cards.
I don't want to say his name no more because it's like Voldemort. So for me, I want to not give his name power no more. And I noticed.
And I noticed
his name.
I come from the opposite direction.
Oh yeah.
I don't hold his name that sacred that I am afraid to hold it in my own mouth.
Well,
I don't give his name so much power that I can't hold it and spit it out the way I want to spit it out. You're not that sacred to me. His name, every time I say his name in context when I am truth telling, when I am accusing, when I am investigating, when I am putting your name out there, I am making it familiar. And by making something familiar, you can hold contempt for it.
Okay, listen.
By
all right.
not speaking, you keep it in a place of reverence and
Okay.
awe.
Okay.
I don't revere him. I don't hold him in any kind of awe. And so I am not afraid to say Trump, because if we don't say the thing that is, how do we approach it? How do we break it down? How do we attack it if we're afraid to even say the combination of vowels and consonants that is his name? That's the kind of reverence that, oh, for God, but not this one. So that's how I approach it. I understand people's like, I'm not even going to dignify his name by speaking it. And that's an absolutely valid strategy. But another strategy is, this is what I tell people about being afraid of a mountain. A mountain is only intimidating if it's behind you.
Right.
Because if you turn around and look at it, then you can see the dimensions of it. And better yet, if you give the mountain a name, it ceases to become intimidating.
Well,
and you give the mountain a stupid name.
Well,
like, okay, a mountain might be intimidating, right?
Yes.
But what if the mountain's name was Corey?
I'm like, Corey, go sit over there.
Thank you.
And when you see it, you have one.
Go somewhere. Go somewhere with that, Corey.
When scripture comes to me, he that said to that mountain, be thy removed. You'll be gone from your path.
Yeah.
Perception.
But you got to turn around and face it.
All right. So what did you just describe? Because we're storytelling now. So for those that have been really woke, because we're not supposed to use that word anymore.
Yes, we are. We are, because what's the antonym? What's the antonym of woke?
You're dealing with Edgar Allan Poe energy right now.
Right.
Einstein energy.
Yeah.
Nina Simone energy. All beautiful light workers, empaths, healers, but had a dark lens. The sadness of the dark lens was that
because they bore witness, and there was a price to pay.
And it was a price to pay. So I feel that energy right now. Being a leader in the community.
Being a leader in this community.
We're gonna talk about that?
Oh, absolutely. I do it all the time.
Interesting. We need to get this right, because I want to make sure as an elder we're capturing this right.
Are we good?
You share this with somebody who's feeling confused right now, who's feeling uneasy. Can we come over here and fix this? Okay, I got it, y'all. All right. We just want to make sure that her mic is right. So oftentimes it's very hard to talk about how you're feeling traumatized and how the feeling, is it a perception or is it actually truth? So there's a lot of insensitivity happening, desensitization that's happening.
Yeah.
We're not slowing down. I think, and this is just my thought, my own personal thought. Again, nobody's affiliations or nobody representation. I'm representing myself right now. This is a thought that people are so apathetic now. They're so tired. They're so unresolved. They're so shell-shocked.
And overwhelmed.
That they just like fix it already. But yet we saw this surge of energy from our young folk. So this is where I'm at today. I am a new elder of a new generation of leaders having to fight for social inequalities, and we're learning to navigate our way right now. We're learning to step into leadership positions where, in the most highest time of discourse, almost other than the civil rights, hear me now, we're always talking about patterns and signs and understanding
Mhm.
psychological trauma. Having to understand how we show up and how we support with resources and how we take the higher road when people go low and they go to try to take you out, or they go to uh, because they're intimidated by your growth or your movement or your development, try to persuade you, your forethought, your critical thought, your voice, your identity.
Mhm.
Then
All of
put
which is on the table right now because now we have to reevaluate all of that
and then put
because
black on it
everything
though.
is
And then
that
put
part.
black on it, or put LGBTQ
Yeah.
or female Latina or whatever else that's lesser than the white privilege, white supremacist values that are coming out. I don't know how our roots are leaking all of that at one time. So let's talk about this tree right now. It's
Because
a
magic
tree
exists.
that is a beanstalk of a fairy tale for me.
Mm-hmm.
Jack got three beans.
Mm-hmm.
And in the storytelling narrative, the fantasy that they gave us, inherit a kingdom that wasn't his, went up the beanstalk.
Mm-hmm.
We've been we've been taught to appreciate privilege. We've been conditioned with their stories and their narratives, and ours
And not
pressed
just
down.
appreciate, but revere. Revere it.
Their words have meaning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even gonna even
Not even,
explore that.
not
Ooh,
just
can we?
appreciate. Ooh, that's nice. That's appreciation. Ooh, I want to have that's reverence. We've been taught to revere privilege,
You
and that's
know,
a distinctly European concept.
I remember the intense conversation Oprah Winfrey used to have.
Mhm.
Right? I don't know if you need permission to say her name anymore. No, she's so big, but she had these real in-depth conversations. I was studying them. They were almost like psychological journalism,
Mm-hmm.
social experiment of exploring values that were happening right before our eyes.
Yeah.
And Oprah made who she was a household name because of those in-depth conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who's supposed to have them now? There is no critical, thought provoking comedy anymore. Dialogue, poetry. It's like we had to hide our narratives. We had to hide it. And in this presidency, for me personally, again, I'm not representing anybody else but myself,
Mm-hmm.
was a slap in the face of our ancestors who gave social justice, who died in the prison system, who got murdered for all type of disrespectful structural racism.
Mm-hmm. I want to go back to the part about
To go back in history,
there
Jesus, this
not
is too
being
much.
enough. I think what we are looking at now is having to expand our ability to contain not the lack of practitioners, but the abundance. And that is what the age of information and the internet has given us
Okay,
is an abundance
so
of
don't fight this.
practitioners.
You need to evolve.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so that means we need to what? We need to mobilize and own what? How do we own what when there's four major corporations that control certain media? How do we now get control of our narrative? Our narrative is being taken,
But
destroyed,
our narrative is
erased, not being told.
our narrative is also being expanded. And that, again, I'm coming back to abundance.
Mm.
Yes, at the top level, because the perfect strategy is always top down, bottom up. Squeeze the thing in the middle, you make change. But
Mm.
at the top, you're always going to have the few, the 4 corporations, the 7 families, the finite numbers of things that seem to have an inordinate amount of power and influence vested in them. But look at the grassroots, and there's always the grassroots. It is the through line of history, is the through line of struggle, achievement, influence, is the grassroots. Go out on the internet right now and you find the community of podcasters. You find the community of artists. You find the pop-up poetry. You find the mini documentary series.
You will find
there's an
the
ecosystem.
ecosystem of the revolution.
Right.
You can kill us, we are many.
Yeah. So
we are the Dorothy Dandridge. We are all of the Ella Fitzgerald. A lot of y'all don't know that she was in a civil rights liberator. Right?
So we're not bereft.
Mm.
We're not without. We are not meager out in these streets. We are abundant. And we just have to change the way we approach our consumption and our processing. That's part of the problem, is we are overwhelmed because there's so much out there. We don't know who to turn to, but we don't lack for commentators. We don't lack for griots. They are new millennia griots. Okay, so we're still an oral people, but now we're oral and visual.
Ooh,
because that's the benefit.
Accept right now. That's what I'm hearing in my spirit.
Yeah.
Mobilize, transform, move. We're people movement people too.
Yeah.
You know, like when we talk about in our African teachings about the drum, why it's so sacred to Africa, Mother Africa. It keeps the beat of our hearts.
Time. And what are we? There is the drum, right? But as a people, we are polyrhythmic.
Ooh.
We contain and respond to multiple beats at a time. And the 7th, 8th rhythm will put me out on that dance floor. Okay. And I will drop things like, anyway.
So you're just speaking so many languages right now. We can hit it with the metaphysics real quick if you want to twist. But I really want to finish the social construct.
Go ahead.
And explain to our intellects and our empaths tonight that what you're seeing and bearing witness to is heavy. Yeah. I need some words before we go metaphysical.
Okay.
Bearing witness and...
Here, let me do this. Hadn't planned on it.
This is always a beautiful pleasure because it's never rehearsed on the Pruned Tree Podcast. Yeah. Just really like led by spirit and truth and consciousness and awareness and being able to speak to our narratives, even in a time where we have our highs
and our lows.
Okay, we have our lows in many different areas of our lives.
So by way of comfort, this is a piece that I thought about the number of blessings, and I thought about numerology, and this is called 19 blessings, but 9 and 1 is 10, and it starts us anew. When the trumpeter Amasa's first echo becomes the angel Gabriel's last note, a clarion call to sunder the heavens, blessed will be the lifelong laborers, tillers of this world's uncertain terrain, truest lilies in the field. Blessed will be the plain speakers, heard and preferred over the silver of tongue. Blessed also the side-eyers and shade throwers, possessors of necessary hands to talk to because the ears ain't trying to hear it. Blessed be the grandparents, breakers without apology or irony of all of our parents' ironclad rules because of us. And blessed be the parents because of us. Blessed be the first responders to wounded spirits, binders of damage felt but unseen, offering shoulders and ears without judgment To those in need simply because of their need, blessed will be the ones who understood their assignment, carried it without preening or posing or performance. Blessed will be the useful and reliable, the willing service transformed into wonderful conduits. Blessed also the soldiers who lived or gave lives fighting for a purpose or a people. Blessed will be the peacemakers, experts in the alchemy of changing swords into plowshares. Blessed will be the believers, forever faithful to God without qualm or question. Blessed will be those who question him, who read the lines in the books to gain information, and blessed those who read between the lines to discern the truth. But most of all, blessed be the body of Christ and every body in it, those who grew up and into knowing him, and those who sought him all of their life, and those who found him at untold but great price. When the trumpeter Amasa's first echo becomes the angel Gabriel's last note, a clarion call to sunder the heavens, blessed will be everyone with a connection to God,
Ashe.
and we will all be exalted. So,
Ashe. Ashe.
by way of breathing, there are trumpets out there.
What inspired you to share that in that moment? Because you're very led by spirit with your words.
Yeah, because we are feeling so betrayed. We are feeling shattered. We are feeling like no one is hearing us and seeing us, or if they do, it is with a predator's gaze.
Ooh, well,
That there's no one holding us
Ooh.
and lifting us and acknowledging us, and we sometimes forget the blessings that are around us.
Ooh, and therefore we can't heal.
Because
You
we
keep
don't,
us
it's
in
hard to see
constant
them.
terror. You keep us in constant stress. We cannot heal.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. That's the shell shock.
That's the shell shock.
Mhm.
You hit the intellectual, the spiritual, and now hit that psychological. Because we have to recognize what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to correct, transform, renew, rejuvenate. Because guess what? If you're a fire, you're going to lay down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to take Tama Brisbane or Toni Morrison. Y'all look her up.
Please.
Look her up.
That's a
See
root.
what
That's a
she
primary
did
root.
with her words
Yeah.
as a poet. Look up James Baldwin, what he did as a playwright.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're in that dispensation again. Like, okay.
Well,
now,
that's why
we're
Dr.
still
King
creating.
said,
We're still moving forward. It's
That-
hard, though.
that's why my hashtag and my social media handles is creatively maladjusted.
Woo.
Because that's okay. Now that one I did come prepared with the
Come
definition
on, I'm
for.
ready.
Because people always ask,
You know, I always
why
segue,
is that?
I always segue you real good now.
You do.
Come on.
So, creatively maladjusted is a quote from Dr. King that says, human salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted. And what he meant was that we will all find ourselves free when we look to those who have figured out a way to creatively respond to the seemingly unbearable, oppressive, and supposedly normal social environments
Woo-woo.
that we are laboring under.
Conundrum.
Yeah.
And that, you could be very sarcastic and very straightforward in your writing style. Conundrum.
Drum.
The last two sentences of that. Read that again. Very slowly and loudly to the ones in the back.
Human salvation lies in the hands of the creatively maladjusted. He meant that we will all find ourselves free when we look to those who have figured out a way to creatively respond to the seemingly unbearable, oppressive, and supposedly normal social environments most of us find ourselves in and labor under.
Baptist preacher time.
Well,
He was talking about the seed. You try to put some dirt on me, but you didn't know I was a seed.
but
Right? It is the ability, and also what you're saying in that moment. We need to remember our resiliency. That word is overplayed. It is overplayed, but it is what so embedded in us to always keep striving, keep thriving. When you know your history, when you know your identity, you know that's part of the.
And resiliency, when we talk about resiliency, don't get that part twisted. Resiliency does not mean that you are required to bounce back immediately.
Well, come on.
You are not required
Some
to
of y'all need to go on
prove
vacation.
that you can just come right back. In a moment such as this, which, by the way, we were built for. We were built for a time such as this. We were built for a moment such as this. But when this thing happens, like it just came down on us politically, we are allowed
to laugh.
No, we're allowed to reel. We are allowed to say, ouch. We are allowed to feel the blow.
Wow.
And we are not required to bounce back on anybody else's timeline. So these people who said, okay, well, tomorrow we got to get back up and go to work. No, the hell we don't.
Mama,
are you crazy?
We need a holiday.
We need time. We are roiling in this toxic gumbo of emotions where we are feeling betrayed, we are feeling angry, we are feeling confused, we are feeling vexed and irritated.
The 6th of
all of that.
November of 2024. I bear witness when I'm 92 and I'm going. I'm seeing my maker. I'm gonna tell y'all this. Don't let what happened in November 6th, 2024.
Thank you.
On my deathbed, I'm gonna remember that date. November. This is my aunties coming out from Detroit. Excuse me.
Okay.
They are some comical, inappropriate, sarcastic, old, beautiful Black ladies.
Bless their hearts.
Because they've been through so much in their high intellect. I got that now. I'm 40. Like he's saying, y'all did see that, right?
Yeah.
Am I tripping?
No.
I say, you did see that? You do understand that, right? I had to take a break from therapy. It's unethical to be just sarcastic the whole entire time. It's inappropriate. That's a trauma. That's a trauma response.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It is not.
In psychology that they tell us. It's a trauma. But I'm telling
examine
you.
your words.
Okay.
In the psychology that they tell us.
Listen, so I know to kick back. I'm grounding somebody else right now.
Okay. That is not. That is a wholly appropriate response.
Seen any kids, you think they're disrespectful? They were getting on that little Black kid that he was laughing, walking through his neighborhood, and he had the camera up, and he was like, y'all tripping. Ha, 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 ha. That was the most uncomfortable laugh. People who experienced that trauma, they knew what that laugh was about. And people dragged him on it. That's what's wrong with these kids. They don't understand. I said, no, that baby knew he had a mob of white people behind him. He went on camera, and y'all did not say, where are you at? Go back into the house. We don't have an alarm. We don't have the empathy. That's what I'm saying. And I feel at times.
You don't think we have an alarm?
No, I think it's been buzzed out. It's been buzzed out. I think that's what the voter turnout really showed. I know it's an undertones of race things that got us here.
No, that's not undertones. That was hella overt.
Okay.
That was hella overt.
Okay.
When you get into the metadata of who voted and how, when you see the repetition of the number 52% of white women still voted for Trump. When you look at, we did our job. 92% Black women voted for Harris.
Yes.
But here's the thing. The brothers came through as well.
The brothers came through as well.
I will brook no slander.
To address.
Yes, it
I
tipped up
want
a
to
little bit,
address
but
how
80% of Black men voted for Harris. Now, the curious factor.
This is the pattern. The lighter skinned brother. Okay.
That part.
This is the pattern I want to address in a very most trauma-informed way.
Do the colorism part?
We have colorism.
Yeah.
We have colorism in our communities over in America too, y'all. And we don't like to address it. It's kind of like the cousin the elephant in the room we don't want to address with our brown community. We used to teach Black and brown unity. Mm-hmm. We move as one. Isam Bagsak. Right? Like, you saw that with the Filipino Latino movement, and they got what they wanted. When it comes to the Negroes, though, let's talk about it. The colorism runs deep with our cousins, and all of us were all colonized and conditioned based off our melanin. The deepness of our melanin, or the lighter of our melanin. I'm going to tell history. We're going to storytell. And we're going to do this in a very gentle way where we don't jump and drop some knowledge on our new generation that wasn't taught that. Our old generation that somehow forgot because they're so traumatized, because you can forget or you're traumatized constantly.
Uncomfortable.
It's very uncomfortable to talk about. 95%, was it 95% of Latino men? Don't quote me. It was a very high percent of Latino males. Now, do we want to think, because we know history tells us, this is not conspiracy, this is immediately what we know about media in America. They control narrative too. Could this be a way where we're panned against each other?
Oh, always.
But the data shouldn't lie, because he got the most electoral votes. And in those states, the census will show what? How do we check this data? That's number one. This is my intellectual thought. Okay. I can lead with heart all I want to and what history tells me. Let's get a balance. Look at all of the information. The mass hysteria we've been through, being so overwhelmed, inflation, they're just getting hit after hit after hit. Nobody ain't taking a break. And just, I mean, even after the Great Depression, they had a break, right? Okay. How are we, the divisiveness, the inner fighting that's happening? Talk to that for me. Help us. Share something. Enlighten us.
That just means the system is working the way they designed it to.
Well, the matrix is real.
This is going to be tangential a little bit, but someone was talking to me about the March on Washington and how it demonstrated that Black and white could march together. And I flashed. I said, that was not the original intent of the march.
What?
No, the March on Washington ain't had shit to do with white people. Dr. King planned the March on Washington as a poor people's march.
I remember
and it was
that
and it was primarily Black people.
Right.
But there was, because something like this had never happened, this amount of humanity, Black humanity, descending upon Washington in its whiteness to make demands of America to live up to its ideals and to apply those ideals to the Black populace. How dare they come by the thousands and make demands? Oh, no. We have to do something. And that is why you see deliberately there were meetings held. How do we diffuse this? How do we divert this? Well, let's add white people. Let's add Jewish people so that it does not look like the Black demand that it was. Now it becomes a human demand.
Well, the programming.
So
So
it
you
starts,
change narrative with a positive way on words
yeah,
and a spin on words, but the deep rooted narrative that we were getting to
was the
was,
divide and conquer.
well,
It
that's
was the
one way to
divide and
see
conquer
it.
because who was paying attention to King in the 60s? Cesar Chavez
Well,
was paying attention to how the movement was unfolding and
uh-huh.
the strategies that were being used. And he was applying that to what was going on in the fields here.
That was happening in the South. Now,
Yeah. And
so what
so
was at the same time happening
so
in the
we've got
West?
parallel movements happening.
Oh, it wasn't parallel.
That was
It was a it was a star.
same time.
It was a star. It was happening in points where we were mobilizing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had our own individual ways. But you have movie stars in Hollywood that was mobilizing.
Mm-hmm.
You have the beautiful biopic, well, at least that's the narrative they put out, of the beautiful, I forgot her name, but she was a 1950s star, daytime television star. And I guess she was working with the Black Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
But Storkley Carmichael in the West, in Oakland,
Mm-hmm.
very active, very awakened in consciousness.
Yeah.
And it was a quickening that we started to see of like white rage breaking out. We also saw many different segments of racism in politics in Hollywood and in the media.
Yeah.
At the same time, there was a young woman who claimed Native American, indigenous background, but she spoke out at the Academy Awards.
Sasheen Littlefeather was not Native. Yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
wasn't Native, but she used that narrative to tell something.
Mm-hmm.
So, for you that want to understand what we're talking about, patterns, themes, things we've seen already, is social change theory. It's the ability to see it, and if you don't recognize it, you don't correct it in your communities and say, no more of this.
Yeah. And correction is what this Wednesday, after the Tuesday time bomb exploded, correction is where I'm hanging out. I'm reevaluating my procedures, my strategies. I am reinforcing boundaries in a way that I never did prior to yesterday. Because there is this pressure, and I'm going to circle back to there's this pressure, we're going to get back to work. We're not going to be defeated. Well, no, we're not going to be defeated. We've never been defeated. But we are also no longer going to fight on somebody else's time.
Ooh.
We're not going to heal
Don't like
on
that
somebody else's time.
Don't like that sharecropping.
And so if you couldn't get out of bed today, fine.
You went by yourself.
Don't get out of bed tomorrow neither if you can. Okay. If we are hurt, if I pinch her, she's gonna say ouch.
I'm gonna say ow, and I'll probably laugh because I'm so incongruent with my feelings. I am such a sassy, sarcastic healer right now.
That's a superpower.
Oh, I don't know, because I
Do you know the intelligence it takes to be sarcastic?
Let me tell you something. They told us in the American Psychological Association manual,
Mm-hmm.
incongruent emotions
Mm-hmm.
is showing stress, is showing trauma, is showing. I said, how can we not use maladaptive coping skills like sarcasm? Because I am super sarcastic. How did we get here? How did we allow, as story, narrative, ancestral keepers, allow this to happen on our watch? And I feel guilty because I'm like a millennial. There was things I could have done. I could have voted like. I could have got into position. I could have got into this or that. So there, I chose another path as like for the people path to care for the people.
Mhm.
How did we get here in policy? How did we get? So I think it's impacting leaders. I'm
Mhm.
speaking leader now
Mhm.
on a whole nother level. It's a surreal moment. It's a humbling moment.
Yeah,
We
it
got some
is.
prayer. We got some fasting. We got some looking at the man in the mirror.
Mhm.
We got some conscious music to be writing. We got some murals to be painting.
We got some fears to be dropping.
We got some speakeasies to be popping off.
Yeah.
We got those secret nights of dancing and being able to let go. See, that happened in Harlem Nights. There was a whole movement even in the Harlem Nights. Renaissance.
And there's strategies that we have to do
Come on.
all over again.
All over again. But there has to be strategies that we can adjust because the times have changed.
Mm-hmm.
Someone told me the other day, very kindly, it was a humbling time. It showed my pruning. It started to show those leaves that were coming through after the pruning. But ooh, did they get scorched by the sun? But it was some truth. Sometimes the sunlight is just as good as, and sometimes it can hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
You stay out too long. Now, I guess I'm some type of tropical tree. I'm very, my element has to be very nurturing, right? I love light, but give me that nice, cool air breeze, and we can bring our emotions down and everything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's who I am quite naturally.
I'm not that person right now.
Okay. I'm not either.
Yeah.
So, what I'm saying is, thinking through this, thinking through your emotional response, keeping our people safe.
Mm-hmm.
There was some poll workers that got hurt. There were some threats that were said to certain people
Yeah.
that we don't like to be open about. But America is uneasy right now. Uneasy. The two assassinating attempts.
Alleged?
Well, I'm gonna be sensitive with that
Okay.
because
You be sensitive.
it really traumatized some people. So that's me coming from a psychological.
Mm-hmm.
Me as a black woman.
Okay.
I'm gonna drink my tea on that.
Yeah, you do that because
Yeah.
as Black people, most of us looked at that and did the immediate historical and cultural math. That don't look right.
Well, tiki 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 tiki.
That don't look right.
Mm. Ah.
Any of us who grew up watching sports and watching WWE, like, wait a minute, how you come up?
I said that psychological trauma is real. His is sarcasm again. It's not appropriate. If y'all didn't catch it, y'all didn't catch it. But don't lean into the psychological trauma.
That part was,
it's part of the conditioning.
yeah. So let's go back to the country being uneasy. That too is by design. And so the system being put in place is working the way it was designed to. We are supposed to be uneasy, but only part of the country is uneasy.
Well,
the part of the country that is celebrating this election and the election, the president-elect, the part of the country that is celebrating Trump's victory is not uneasy. They are celebratory because this is the beginning of the thing that this country has wanted for decades. This is the pinnacle of the Southern strategy that started in the 60s, which saw the Democrats become Republicans because of the civil rights movement.
Can we go back 200 years?
We can.
No, let's just 200. About
So
200.
because when people say this is not who we are.
Silver, the Civil War.
No, we can go back before that. Okay. Because anytime I hear somebody saying to me, this is not who we are as Americans, the hell it isn't. This is exactly who we are as Americans. Well, this is how the country was born. What do you mean? This is not who
I'm
we are.
so inappropriate because I'm like, duh. All the intellectuals are like, yep, thank you. Somebody had to say it. Please, this is duh for us.
It is.
And
this is
so
remedial.
So then I'm traveling. You ready?
Mhm.
It is people, you know me, I'll speak to, and I know it's comments, and I don't have my glasses. So
I do, but I see Khadijah
Okay.
and I see Cherie. Hi, Tamisha.
Oh, hi, Dee Dee. Oh, hi, everybody. Hey.
Oh, we got
Okay, now we can see it on the screen.
we got the
Okay.
Soldier Queens listening. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Soldier Queen. Shout out. Y'all better heart it up. I want to see y'all heart it up. Always help me find the right words. Yes, express my experiences. Ashe, sister. Oh, Mama T, appreciate the wisdom and genuineness. Ashe, Sister Turner. Ooh, venting. What did you say? Convening. I can't see it, y'all. We're gonna have to make it bigger. I need to see this. I need to see these comments. Oh, it's coming on the screen. Can you put it on the screen to the right? We some old ladies. We can't see that far. I'm glad.
You're in your 40s. I'm the old lady.
I feel old. I'm not trying to be old. I'm really not. But it is. I think it's a weight of the now. And you look like you're in your 40s, by the way. So just stop.
Thank you.
You fine. I think it's the weight of everything all at once. If we can just give a shout out to the millennial babies and the Gen X, we've lived through 4 pandemics.
Yeah.
Huh? Let's count them.
Okay, 1918.
No.
You going to the influenza?
Let's go to the swine flu in our.
Oh, okay. You guys
in
okay.
our life.
All right.
Your life, right? So, how many jolts of shell shock did we really endure? Right? Because in our generation, let's talk about it for one moment. Shout out to the millennials that's listening. And those Gen X babies. In that moment, we witnessed the first school shooting. Guess where the first school shooting was? Stockton, California. Cleveland Elementary. That was the first jolt of shell shock. We're gonna call
racially motivated.
Well, I'm calling shell shock racism tonight. I don't know what you've been talking about, but shell shock is racism for me tonight.
Yeah. Okay.
That first shell shock moment, we realize that a very disturbed white man can get on campus and kill and hurt children. I just couldn't believe that when I learned about it and why Michael Jackson came here. Okay. Then we hear about, in my millennial area, Columbine. And when after Columbine hit, it was like you had to start learning about like school safety. So your very in tune and beautiful daughter, Benaya Joy, put it very perfectly. And I want you to go back and see Benaya Joy's interview with me. She now was like talking about, because we didn't do anything in my generation, we allowed the terror to keep going. What their generation is dealing with, the normalcy, laying on the floor, covering their heads. Okay, how did we get here? Again, I'm talking about the moral decay, the feeling that we're having as intellectuals, empaths, who keep seeing what's happening in America. How do you speak to hope? Because there's so many patterns, there's so many different things and heaviness that we're feeling right now. How do you speak to hope? And I'm gonna have you, we're gonna come back. Listen, we're gonna take 5 minutes because this is probably gonna run over an hour. And so Mama Tama also has a very important piece that she'll be leaving us with. that she was supposed to speak at our this year's resident summit.
I didn't bring that one with me.
Oh, I told you to. But
I'm sorry.
that's okay. I'll have it posted
Okay.
later on.
Cool beans. Thank you.
But I want you to leave us with
something hopeful.
hopefulness, but how do you take care of yourself in this moment? And then also, so we're gonna ask you to stay tuned. Share this link with somebody, right? That needs it. Right now, just share it out. I'm going to, in this later segment, because we're going to probably go over just a little bit, in this later segment, take some people to come online with us. So right now we're monitoring, because this is how the podcast truly usually goes. We're monitoring interactions on the podcast. So if you want to come on and you just want to share your thoughts, remember to be mindful. This is the internet. Y'all have to be mindful of your jobs or anything else. But if there's something you want to share or something that you want to ask Mama Tama, we're going to do that in this moment. So
and I answer all questions.
Ashe. So we're going to engage in dialogue with her because this is a historical moment of truth right now that we're telling in our narrative. It's important. So we'll be right back. Give us 5 minutes and we'll see you in a minute.
Or 5.
All right, y'all. Welcome back. So, Rebel Rae, your
Tama
hostess with the
Lynn.
mostest, Tama Lynn, showing up as herself today. And we're having these in-depth, very crucial, critical, yet conscious conversations right now.
Yeah.
Courageous conversation right now.
Necessary dialogue.
Necessary dialogue.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we went on break, I let everybody know that, this will be a great time. This will be probably cut up into 2 episodes because it's going to be a long episode. But if you're tuning in, this is the second part of what we're going to be talking about tonight on how we're moving on, how we're acknowledging, how do you cope, but how do you build? How do you continue to thrive? I don't want to just be called resilient. I want to see something out of that resiliency. How do we validate? How do we show up? Right? How do we show up? She getting inspiration right now. Thank you, creative, for the spirit right now. Let's go. How we continue to be, the word creative keeps coming to me. Creative. I know when we go to like master anything, when we go back to creator, we remember all of the things he gave us, or she gave us, depending on how you're understanding who the creator is for you. Hope comes. Hope is there. I think that's hope, right? Obama ran on hope. And we believed Obama and we believe Biden because Obama told us to, not to blame Obama, but you got to be kind of careful how you give so much, cast our cares into men, right? When we're supposed to cast our cares to Creator, and He holds us. Hope.
How do I carry it? Sometimes I don't. What I am doing in this season of my life, because I'm having fun being 67. There is a grace and a defiance that comes when you get to be an elder. There's a liberation that comes when you get to be an elder. And what made me grab your pen and this paper is the word resilient is, we acknowledge, being overused. There's a certain tyranny attached to resilience as it's applied to people who struggle and overcome. And it is like we do not have the freedom to break. We do. We bend, we crack, we break. We get to acknowledge being human. We get to acknowledge moments that are too much, not too much forever. That's why I said moments. Don't you feel from yesterday to today like something broke?
Ooh.
That's not resilience. That is acknowledgement. And that's what we don't allow ourselves.
Well,
and that's what makes it hard to hope, because we don't allow ourselves the full range of the experience. So when something happens that makes us shell-shocked because it's unexpected, it's painful, it makes us confused, and we break, we have this cultural tape in our head that plays over and over and over like this toxic mantra that we are resilient and we can be strong and we can get past this thing. And we're misdirected. We're not supposed to get past it. We're supposed to go through it.
You got so much truth speaking.
So
it's
put resilience down. Resilience can go on the back burner for a minute. And if your care means that you curled up with Mrs. Fields, Sarah Lee.
Listen, let me tell you how I've been coping. I told you it's this weird sarcasm. I just saw myself in the camera and I'm like, I got this 1940s swag. I guess we're going back to Jim Crow. I didn't look at my makeup and then my hair waving the way it is. And who told me not to put no lotion on my elbow? That's how I'm dealing.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with the sarcasm of the truth. I'm dealing with wanting to stay there because if I go somewhere else,
what would happen?
Anger
and
sacred rage,
and
that's not safe. That's not safe.
Suppressing it is safe. We're gonna be any safer if we don't express
We're
it.
safer if we suppress.
No, we are not.
We're not.
Because if we, how you think we get fibroids?
Ooh, say it, mama. It's
because we're
Black health. Come on.
Because we're suppressing.
You know I'm gonna always lead you so you can tell some truth. Huh?
Suppressing.
Huh?
Don't suppress. It's like what is it? Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Well.
So if I'm gonna have to take off my earrings, then we absolutely gonna fight.
Listen, the letter that you wrote when you say you had to take off your earrings, you got that?
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear it tonight. It was a letter you wrote on your social media, something that happened with your daughter, and you said I had to take matter of fact, you said I had to take off my earrings. I said, oh, queen. She didn't got upset. Yeah. She had got upset in a righteous way, though. Mm-hmm. How we use our intellect? How do we use our intellect? We can't come brash. It's not safe. Please, because for my queens that I know is listening, you understanding the assignment right now, it's not safe. Tell us how we nicely, like the Southern Belles that we do, put our earrings down. Because Kamala, being one of the smartest, wasn't Black enough, wasn't Jamaican enough, wasn't any other label that they put on her, Indian enough, wasn't a part of the sorority enough, or was she? Every narrative to tear down that she used in resiliency to help her excel her voice to one of the highest ranking officers in our land.
Yeah. And it still wasn't enough.
I gasped at the misogyny and the sexism. I gasp. When a news outlet, and I won't call his name, I just won't.
Okay.
Said she was one of the greatest, and they used the most derogatory term to express to a woman, let alone a Black woman of the highest chair. Whether I always believed, whether or not I believed, and how she practiced through the years as a professional.
Yeah.
Okay. My restorative practices tell me on one hand, she did this, on the other. But what is the accountability of our people to their trauma and what they do? And when we're placed in a position to have to correct, we do our job because we have to excel as Black women. Okay. We have to. It's hard because we have to navigate this system. We got to deal with some stuff. That unlikeness, that history, that narrative, that vision, that perspective is always criticized as, did it really happen like
Yes,
that?
it did really happen.
So then you get to hear the most disrespectful rhetoric,
Mhm.
misogyny, racism, ageism, sexism, all the isms they say we made up some kind of way in vocabulary. It's happening before your eyes as a leader, as a woman leader, as a young lady who grew up almost immortalizing strong women. And then you're faced with that truth of the country you live in. Ha.
You're never going to be enough for it.
Wow.
You're never going to be enough for it. And so, again, circling back to the hope, circling back into how we move from this moment. Now, whether it's a lateral move or a forward movement, or even a well deserved backward movement, because I'm going to step back and take some time for me and process this stuff right here. You get to do that too. What I am doing in this moment is evaluating and re-evaluating alliances and the definition of that.
Are we allowed to do that? Are we allowed to do that? Are we
Yes.
safe? What? You can
Yes.
reevaluate?
We can reevaluate. We can reevaluate. We can reclaim our intellect. We can reclaim the connection between our brain, our culture, and our tongues.
Our narrative?
Yeah. We're the original storytellers.
Well,
we had best to be about the business of our narrative.
Indigenous folk.
And thinking about, how do I go back into the work I know that I'm called to do, the work that I want to do, and yet handle being shell-shocked, being angry. There is a refuge that we don't take in our anger because we've been so conditioned to run away from the trope of the angry Black woman.
Well,
as though we hadn't earned it.
Ooh. The mothers of gynecology looked them up.
Yeah.
They were ripped open.
Yeah.
Our foremothers were ripped open. Our forefathers were castrated and hung.
They set towns ablaze simply because we were successful. In spite of all of the oppressive measures that they put in place for us not to be successful, when we overcame that, became too much. So we got to set all your shit on fire.
Or drown
and
it.
we don't get to be angry.
Or cover it up at the bottom of a reservoir.
And so at this moment right here,
Black townships.
Yeah, audience, at this moment right here, you do get to be angry. You do get to feel all of these feelings, because if you don't, if you fall victim to the tyranny of resilience, you move forward unprepared. You move forward brittle. You don't move forward flexible. You don't move forward fluid. And that is what it's going to take to navigate these next 4 years, is a degree of fluidity that we're not used to practicing.
Pause. Let's translate it one time, metaphysical, spiritual one time, with the get down. Those things that are manifesting somatic systems, stress in your life, are the things that are also on the outside. So we must fast, we must pray, we must be diligent with our tongue. We must be able to listen to good things that go into our spirit. Things, negative things, and I repent right now. All being privy to things that ain't none of my business. Taking that into my system. How do you rid those things? How do you maladaptively stop coping? Because you start worrying about somebody else's business and you ain't sweeping around your own back door.
Remember to bear witness.
Before you speak around mine. Remember that?
Yeah, you don't have to get in it. You can bear witness to it. There are
That's
degrees.
vicarious trauma to me. And you know, it's funny because I'm always getting hit. When you always hitting, you coming from a trauma lens. That's my calling.
Mhm.
That's my calling to be like, yo, we just went through this. Let's not go here again. What we doing? Because this ain't it. This ain't it.
Yeah.
Okay. So one last thing I want you to talk to is the person that does not support this narrative of looking at, that could be anybody
Mhm.
right now in America.
Okay.
As we had a lot of division, a lot of infighting. Commercials got a little nasty. You know, politicking as usual.
Mhm.
For people that don't believe that we're at that stage that we should be mad, we should just put all those things behind us. For the Candace Owens, individuals of the earth that say, hey, that happened. Yes. It's time for you to get over it now. We have to evolve. We're going another place. Stop bringing up that old history. Stop bringing up all of that race, equity, inclusion. Look, we did away with affirmative action. Just stop. Oh my God, RC. Girl, let's talk about friends.
I'm privileged to run with an exalted group of women, and we call ourselves the Eagles.
Mm.
And one of the things eagles don't do is pay attention to chickens.
Well, chicken, book, chicken. Listen,
We eat chickens.
if that wasn't an intellectual auntie slam, what? That's how the auntie be murdering the young woman when they come through and they think they fast and they know it all. Auntie real nicely let you know.
Yeah. I don't defend. Let's go biblical.
Come on, auntie.
Pearls before swine.
Well, auntie,
I don't defend people that I don't need to respect.
well, auntie,
I have an assignment. My feet are on a path. You are a distraction. You're just yapping over there on the sidelines. Why am I paying attention to you?
well, auntie.
I don't engage the Candace Owenses.
Well, auntie.
I know the difference. I know the honor of being a Negro in the house. She a house Negro.
Auntie.
We don't mix.
Ooh.
We don't mix.
Well, shots fired.
I value my words too much to be wasting them on people like that.
Auntie.
But we all have to be able to make that kind of discernment
Auntie.
going forward.
This truth is there's a lot to unpack. I don't even got enough time. I don't even have enough time. My eye hurt. I don't got enough time.
Stop it.
She said, I don't even address.
No.
I can't. The food ain't the same. The insight. Look, I'm turning into my daddy. Shout out Elder Thompson, Deacon Thompson. The intellect he used to do like this when he get real into Sunday school and his studies, and I loved it. We were smart.
Yeah, because when it comes to the body, you know it's
good. It's good connection and intellectual gain that you're dropping these gems, diamonds tonight, all showing up how we emotionally with our intellects decide what our boundaries gonna look like.
Yeah, we decide.
What? Taking back our power.
We decide.
Pruned tree.
Yeah.
So I'm coming out of the pruning. Because, we walked through this thing tonight. We walked through this thing tonight. Can we breathe? Can we do a deep breath? Give me one more. Okay. Round 12,004.
Sorry.
round 12,004. I got knots on my face like Rocky Balboa.
Uh-huh.
I'm standing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay. I'm standing though.
Standing.
Okay.
Still standing. It's
Okay.
round 12. You still standing.
Okay.
Which
12,004.
leads into the poem
Round
I'ma close with.
12,004.
Yeah.
You hear what I'm saying?
Uh-huh. Of the never-ending bout.
It feel like that,
Yeah.
right? In our dispensation of mankind, history, what history narrative was brought forth to tell us, to help guide us, help guide our identity, because we didn't get all of our history. That's a whole nother podcast.
Yes.
But to really take in every little level of how we're feeling, our stories to be told, just make sure you're connecting. Make sure you're being gentle. Before you start in throwing up on somebody and calling them, say, hey, you got capacity? Let me use these therapy skills. You got capacity? Can we go get something to eat? You doing okay? You sleeping okay?
Can I tug on you for a minute?
Can I tug on you for a minute? It's okay, y'all. We can check in with one another. We can eat really good. We can fast. We can fast from the internet or TV for a little bit. You know. What else? What else you do to cope? Of course, you write.
I was gonna say I write. I read.
You read. What you reading?
Right now, I am reading the White Supremacist Handbook, and I'm reading a couple of poetry books. I'm always reading a poetry book. I'm reading 3 categories of books at all time. I'm reading something nonfiction that is social justice oriented, that is helping to inform my walk and my work. I'm always doing that. I'm always reading something romantic.
You're a romantic novel.
Mush.
I'm gonna tell you what got me.
Mush. I am that one. Yeah.
The most
And
romantic.
poetry.
The most romantic, and I'm not a romantic. I'm a sci-fi girl.
I am too.
All day long. That's my curl up, big old socks, oversized t-shirt.
Original Star Trek or Star Trek Next Generation?
No. Let me tell you about, I got romances with both.
Okay.
For some reason I had a thing for Worf and the first lieutenant.
Wait.
There was something fine. He
When
played
they
that
gave
saxophone.
Worf that ponytail, it was a wrap. Sorry.
I said, why they put that ponytail on that man and his hairline way back here, but he can tell.
Made it work.
And the first captain, whatever he called, the first lieutenant, when he be in them holodecks, I'd be like, that would be so
Talking about Riker?
Riker. Play that saxophone. Yeah, the little crazy romance they had with Diana the medium.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, that's that spark. Went somewhere for a moment.
So we're back.
Nesting. Taking care of my nest.
Okay.
Breathing through the candle lighting. The incense. I just got a cute little incense, a new incense burner. And it was this Black woman with her hand up and her eyes closed like, child, please. But you put the incense in her neck and it comes through her mouth.
Oh my gosh.
I just bought it. I think I'm going to have her on the podcast.
Okay. I got to show you this nightlight.
Candles.
That I got off camera.
Bubble. I love it. Bubble baths. Sitting, meditating, stretching, right? Dancing. So I will break out in a dance.
Yeah.
Right now it's been really like African beats, the mamba, the tango. Really,
now my middle daughter dances.
Nice.
Seriously.
Nice. And getting back into some of my recipes and cooking and just warming the place up. I'm hosting Thanksgiving this year, so really warming the place up, warming it up, trying to put that healing energy into my space as well. That's how I'm practicing my self-care. Okay.
Yeah.
Really working through this. So whatever your niche is, whatever your coping is, we leave you with that because we talked about how resilient you were. You know that already. We really grounded and reminded you of your history, that it's not just happening in your head. My sarcastic self. It really did happen.
Oh, God.
What you saw, what you learned, The stories that you see on the streets happen for real. It traumatized a lot of us. Those that survived COVID, we're here.
Mm.
We're going to survive inflation. And before we go, I'd be remiss to not call out our brother's name. And I am actually going to pull libations out for him.
Okay.
And I forgot to, while we'll change the camera, we'll keep speaking. I'm going to ask Moses to bring me a small plant. I'm going to bring a small plant. A real plant. It needs to be a real plant. You just bring me a smaller plant up at the front.
And then I have a poem to leave everybody with.
And you're gonna leave that a real plant. You're gonna leave that poem afterwards.
That.
And we're gonna leave it on that. And as we talked about a lot, we gave you some resources. We normalized for you what you're feeling. And this message is not for everybody. This message are for the people it hit home with. You can share this message. You can be kind with this message. You can tear this message apart. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's our truth. I'm very grateful in this moment, Mama Tama, to have had this space with you. Thank you, my little suckling.
We'll have to close the loop. You started off with the fruit. So, because that's some of my best work when I. So, yeah.
And do you mind joining me with a little bit of your water, please? And for a lot of you that don't know, libation is not just found in many African cultures. It's found in many indigenous cultures. And Day of the Dead is one of those ways. And isn't it Dalila just passed too? We're just honoring ancestors and honoring our folk that gone before us. So libations is the same. When we pour out, when I pour out libations, and I call out our ancestral names. And I've also learned through witnessing in many religious places of worship, they call out their ancestral names too at certain ceremonies. I learned that at a bar mitzvah.
Really? Okay.
A bar mitzvah, the actual ceremony. It was very beautiful this weekend. I was able to witness that. And the congressional rabbi, when their hand swayed across, they would say out the name of their loved one.
I did not know that.
Yeah, you learn something that brings us together and shows us who we are as a people. The good things when you stop and you listen and you reflect and you watch. So I want to, in memorandum, call out my brother's name. Tonight, he passed away on November 1st, which was last Friday. I just got word today. And so I pour out libations for my brother, Jesse Owens. Ashe. Brother Jesse Owens, in his short time with joining the coalition work for Black maternal health, had stepped in. We reached out to him, the CHWs, our lactation specialist and coach, Miss Tamisha Turner, Kimberly Robinson, our health equity senior project coordinator, many different ones that got a chance to interact with him and uplift his voice on the importance of maternal presence, not just support, presence. That we know that it's needed
Mm-hmm.
in our family. And I have some video clips from the two baby showers that he was able to speak at. He also spoke at our this year's Black Health Symposium
That's right.
and really pushed the voice of the Black father in the room to uplift and push our people, and also his work with Mary Magdalene. And so we have our nonprofit brothers and sisters in the movement. We sent out prayers, we sent out condolences, we sent out condolences to his wife, his children, and those that really were affected by his blessing and his short stay. Oh,
And to listen for his spirit.
and listen for his spirit. So we have a clip I would like to share.
To outcomes of families, right? When fathers are involved, there's a lot of different statistical data that supports healthier habits for the children. Children are tend to be more responsible. They do better in school when fathers are around. They are far less likely to drop out of school or to wind up in the prison or the judicial system when father is present and around. So fathers matter from the very first developmental stages of a child's life. And the more that father is invested and involved throughout those developmental stages and assisting and aiding with that child growth, it helps the child to develop, as brother talked about and touched on, identity and also a maturity that's necessary for them to move into those adult stages and phases of life. I kind of wanted to piggyback on something that he said when he was talking about the co-parenting. And one of the main things that I speak to men about when discussing the co-parenting is partnership. Right? It's a partnership. And the best partnerships work when there's an equality in it. Right? And it requires constant communication and conversation and a willingness to even have some tough conversations in order to maintain that partnership, right? So it's just so essential. And one other thing that he talked about was relationship to the child. And one of the things that I always tell men is once you have a child, you guys are family. Right? You and that mom, you're a family.
We're a family.
Yeah, whether you live inside the home or not, you
Or
still
whether I don't like them,
are a family.
I have to. So we share blood.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right? So just because you have an argument with family don't make them not family no more. Just because I have a disagreement with family, it doesn't mean that they're suddenly not family anymore. Right? And so in the midst of that,
He was dialed in, wasn't he?
He was dialed in. And it's a certain correction we're gonna have to do within our family systems that he was speaking to. That was some of his last words in advocacy on film that he said. And I will never forget it. The impact that even our women who called in and heard it was, they said, we want more. It was an eagerness and a hungriness because there had been such a miscommunication between our Black family units and how we speak to each other and love one another and communicate, and have been taught to keep hurt, harm, and secrets and not heal in the ways that our ancestors would like of us to heal ourselves in our healing. Our identity lies. Our identity lies in our healing because their moral teachings, the teachings that they were taught from their forefathers who studied the stars, who build great buildings, we were stolen. And now we practice in ways that are not ours. And in that moment, that man said something. Heavy is that truth. And he is an ancestor. So we pour out and we call your name, Brother Jesse.
Ashe.
Ashe. So thank you. Thank you for allowing us to share that intimate moment. Since our advocacy, since last year, our advocacy, there have been 2 deaths in the movement for maternal health and equity, and one of them was a baby. So that we got on film here, and narrative, to be able to tell our narratives and remember us, remember the faceless, remember the voiceless, remember those that don't have a home. Practice empathy no matter what comes our way. In the next couple of years, practice what's right, how to love and support, and also how to rebuke
And protect.
and protect. Ashe, Queen. I yield to you.
Um, Poet Laureate Emerita is the space that I inhabit creatively right now. And it means that I've done a lot of writing. And 9.5 times out of 10, when I am performing, it is my work. And it's a solitary art form, writing and being a poet. But when you are a laureate, your job is to bring the art form to a wider audience. And that does not mean always elevating your own voice. And so you have to be present in the assignment and in the station, but you cannot have so much ego that your words are always your words, that you lead with your writing, that you lead with your voice. Because there's a pantheon, there's a constellation, there's a galaxy of voices that are currently present, and voices that have gone before, and voices that you're training up if you're doing your job right. And I say all of that as prelude to a piece of poetry that is foundational with me. When you talk about hope, when you talk about actual resilience and not the tyranny of resilience. And in a moment such as this poem by Lucille Clifton is what I would want to leave us all with. And interestingly enough, it's called Won't You Celebrate with Me?
Wow.
Mm.
The sarcasm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Won't you celebrate with me what I have shaped into a kind of life? I had no model. Born in Babylon, both non-white and woman, what did I see to be except myself? I made it up. Here on this bridge between starshine and day, my one hand holding tight my other hand. Come celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and failed. They will always fail. Side note. They will always try, and they will always fail. Spirit, culture, creativity, persistence, excellence, love, community, power, expression, determination, achievement. It will always come for those. And they are organic to us. And so they will always fail.
Ashe, I want to thank you. And you've been tuned in to the Pruned Tree Podcast. I am your hostess with the mostest, Rebel Rae. Join us every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I want to tell you thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking us through the process of the pruning right now.
Bonsai.
Bonsai. It's a bonsai. We out. Peace.